Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Today in True Crime and Portraits podcast. I'm your host, Jane Flowers. Welcome back, everyone. On today's True Crime episode, I am speaking about Organized Criminal Cardiologist Dr. John McClean Trotter and how he is involved with my breach of fiduciary I have with my trust fund. I have a breach of fiduciary with my trust fund in Greenwood, Mississippi at Melton Law Firm and Trustmark Bank. For those who don't know who Dr. John Trotter is, then let me please fill you in on who he is. He is the brother to Lisa Trotter Melton from Greenwood, Mississippi. Lisa Trotter Melton's husband is attorney Floyd Melton III. John's sister and brother-in-law are both involved in my breach of fiduciary I have with my trust fund. For those who are curious, I will be dropping an episode at a later date explaining who Lisa Trotter Melton and attorney Floyd Melton III are and how they are associated with my breach of fiduciary I have with my trust fund at Melton Law Firm in Greenwood, Mississippi. I went to high school with Dr. John Trotter at Pillow Academy in Greenwood, Mississippi. I remember John very well from high school and how he mostly hung out with a gay guy who was his best friend. The gay guy currently lives in New York City and his name is Gip Clark. Gip and Dr. John Trotter are still very close friends. Dr. John Trotter is a cardiologist from Fairhope, Alabama. He and his family are running a multi-million-dollar organized criminal enterprise in Greenwood, Mississippi, while they run the judicial system. Dr. John Trotter was my mother's doctor when she died of a heart attack August the 25th, 2006. Shortly after my mother's death, the next day was Dr. John Trotter's birthday. Now, what I want to know is, John, did you celebrate your birthday and have immense amounts of fun and partying after my mother died while she was under your care? I've always pondered this and wondered to myself how he acted after my mother's death. Was Dr. John Trotter excited because my mother was finally dead and now his brother-in-law and sister and family could finally get down to business and start embezzling from my mother's estate, my trust, and my stepfather's estate? I bet he was extra excited after my mother's passing. I can only imagine. I wonder this sometimes, and I wouldn't put it past him that he celebrated his birthday with parties after my mother's passing. After her passing, attorney Floyd Melton Jr. told me that he wanted to close my trust and render over all my assets to me. When he told me this, I agreed with him about the closing of my trust. My trust was later closed March of 2007, and after it was closed, I only received $350,000 out of the $5 million that I thought I was going to get. My mother told me on 2 different occasions I had under $5 million in World War II Series E bonds in my trust that my grandfather and grandmother left me. In my final accounting, there was no record that I ever owned World War II Series E bonds in my trust fund that my mother was embezzling. With the help of attorney Floyd Melton Jr. and Trustmark Bank in Greenwood, Mississippi. Because attorney Floyd Melton and Floyd Melton III didn't want to bring any attention to themselves and them purchasing property with their ill-gotten gains that they embezzled from my trust. Instead, they got their family members and used them as a third party to purchase property for them to help clean the money that they embezzled from my trust. Dr. John Trotter purchased a house with cash money July 10th, 2007, located 210 Shady Lane, Fairhope, Alabama, 36532. He had an attorney instead of a title company to do the closing on his house. Let me guess, that attorney was Floyd Melton III, because his brother-in-law deals in real estate law. John purchased his home cash, $350,000, and he did $517,000 in home improvements on his home. Meanwhile, I did a search last year in November 2019 with the Department of Treasury to see if my mother's name and another person's Social Security number was used to cash out my World War II Series E bonds that I was missing from my trust in the final accounting of my trust. It took about 4 weeks for the Department of Treasury to come back and tell me in a letter mailed to me dated December 18th, 2019, that they found World War II Series E bonds that my mother cashed out under her name and another person's Social Security number. About a week after the Department of Treasury received my letter asking them to do a search, last year in November, Dr. John Trotter put his house up for sale that he paid cash for. A realtor that goes by the name of Jill Dees Delmore put it out on an ad for sale on Facebook. Here's what the ad on Facebook said, November 21st, 2019. If you follow the latest trends like I do, then you already know that stained cabinets are the newest trend. This updated kitchen with solid wood cabinetry, high-end quartz countertops, 2 sinks, warming drawer, and gas cooktop has everything you need to wow your guest during the holidays. Call today to view this home or reach out to your favorite realtor. 210 Shady Lane, Fairhope, Alabama, 36532. Now my question is this. Where did Dr. John Trotter get $350,000 in cash to pay for his home that he had to sell during the time I did a search with the Department of Treasury last year that revealed my mother was using another person's Social Security number to embezzle from my trust fund? Now, isn't that odd that John did that? Put his home up for sale that he paid cash for during the time I did a search with the Department of Treasury under my mother's name and another person's Social Security number? Very odd indeed. Not only did he pay cash for his home, he did $517,000 in home improvements, which came out to a grand total when he tried to sell his home last year, $730,000. This wasn't the only property that Dr. John Trotter paid for cash in 2008. He also purchased a home in Jackson, Mississippi at 1602 St. Anne Street and did $67,720 in home improvements. After he improved the home, he sold it on December 31st, 2008 for $116,520. But wait, this wasn't the only property that Dr. John Trotter purchased in 2008. Dr. John Trotter also purchased a property in Mobile, Alabama, worth $1 million in 2008 at 6701 Airport Boulevard, Mobile, Alabama, 36608. I got this information from Spokeo off the internet. Dr. John Trotter has his practice in one of the suites in this building he purchased at Suite D330. His practice is called Interventional Cardiology Specialist. He's been at this location since 2008. The building he works at has office space available for lease, and it is a 4-story Class A office building that he purchased in 2008. I also got some of my information about Dr. John Trotter from truthfinder.com. These properties that Dr. John Trotter bought were bought with laundered money that was embezzled from my trust in 2006 after attorney Floyd Melton Jr. told me he wanted no part or anything to do with my trust anymore, and I could find someone else to handle my assets for me. Dr. John Trotter cleaned his ill-gotten gains by purchasing a little over $1 million in property in 2008 with cash. Not only did the Trotters purchase millions of dollars in property in 2008, Moss Melton purchased hundreds of thousands of dollars in farmland in 2008. It looks like to me the Trotters and Meltons' big payday was from 2007 to 2008. Their payday was from embezzling from my trust and my family's estate. As much as everyone's probably upset that I'm talking about the Meltons and the Trotters, because some people might think these people are really nice people and law-abiding citizens, I will say this much. They might be nice to you, but they're not nice to me and my family. If anything, Dr. John Trotter and his family want me dead. I was verbally told this through their middleman, Derry Johnson. Derry Johnson is also involved with the breach of fiduciary I had with my trust fund. He stopped working for Melton's law firm in 2008, so he said. Derry Johnson reached out to me through Facebook Messenger and told me he wanted to speak to me. I didn't know who he was at the time. He sent me his phone number through Messenger, and I later called him. I spoke to him over the phone, and he threatened my life. Here I am talking to this person. I don't even know who he is, and he's introducing himself to me, and then he threatens my life. I was baffled and confused. I was like, what the hell is going on? This was in 2016 when he threatened my life. He told me that if I started my court case and I tried to get my money back that was embezzled from my trust, that they were going to kill me, meaning Floyd Melton and his family. I don't take death threats lightly. So I made a police report about the death threat. I also looked into who Derry Johnson is, and I found out that he has registered his Lincoln Town Car to my grandfather's home address, that the bonds that my grandfather purchased were registered to. Derry Johnson registered his Lincoln Town Car to 300 West Claiborne Street, which is right next to the lot where my father's house once stood, that he was murdered in, at 103 Virginia Street in Greenwood, Mississippi. It makes me wonder why the hell Derry Johnson needs to register his car to my grandfather's home address in 2007 and 2008. Then he's going to give me a death threat verbally, so he's definitely involved in the breach of fiduciary I have with my trust. Obviously, he's involved with the breach of fiduciary with my trust because his actions spoke very loudly. These people are ruthless and they're narcissists. They think they are untouchable. They've established a lucrative money laundering method by purchasing property and selling it. They continue to use real estate to launder their illicit funds. If they have embezzled from me and my family, then who other clients have they stolen from over the past 20 years? Can you imagine who and what other clients they have stolen from because they are career criminals? If they see an open door to steal from their clients, believe me, they're going to steal from them just like they stole from me and my family. Their criminal activity has not been stopped so far, but I plan to put an end to their organized criminal enterprise that they are running in Greenwood, Mississippi. I'm not going to let them keep using my mother's name with identity theft. They got another thing coming if they think I am. They are busted, and I'm going to expose them until they are indicted. In the meantime, I'm still looking for an attorney. If you know anyone that would take my case, could you please reach out to me by email and send me their credentials? I would like to sue civilly for my breach of fiduciary I have with my trust, and also in the near future, I would like to sue for my mother and father's estates that I suspect that have also been mishandled. Believe me, if they're going to leave my mother's estate open 10 years after her passing and refuse to give an accounting, and in the meantime, she was involved with identity theft with the attorneys that control her estate, then I'm sure there's plenty of criminal activity that has gone on with her estate. My case is huge. It has over 20 years of criminal activity associated with 2 crime families that are running the judicial system in Greenwood, Mississippi. There's more than likely shell companies and front companies these crooks have been using to filter their ill-gotten gains through, but I wouldn't know if this is a case until my case is completely investigated and properly investigated by the FBI or Secret Service. But I do know that that's how these criminals would and could conduct their criminal activity to help them clean their ill-gotten gains. Until then, I need an attorney to represent me with my breach of fiduciary I have with my trust fund. If you know an attorney that would take my case on contingency, then would you please reach out to me by email and give me his credentials. Thank you for listening today. Please stay tuned for more true crime stories with episodes dropping daily. Please subscribe and leave a comment. Until then, I'll see you next episode. Goodbye, everyone.